they had 55 people working with them, and they were doing well, they're profitable, but they had that torrid time where it was a real struggle. But now they're doing really well again. Obviously things have picked up. They now have 16 people, so a lot less, and they're more profitable than ever. Toby, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm 4 days into a 4-day fast, so water fast. So I'm looking forward to a nice meal tonight.
Yeah,
I thought this would probably be episode 2 of the podcast, and obviously also on YouTube as well. And the plan is me and Toby will probably catch up a couple of times a month. Maybe more, hopefully at some point as we get into the swing of things, and just talk about kind of what's happening in the online marketing world. So, things that have cropped up on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, just things out there in the online marketing world or news world in general, and just anything we think that's going to be useful and then we can discuss. So we've got a few things today just to ease ourselves in. But I thought we could start by talking a little bit about AI content. And I know this has been spoken about for a little while now, but the reason I wanted to bring this one up was because I have a content writer, freelance content writer I work with and have worked with for years. And she sent me a message the other day because she was a bit concerned about losing a client. And she said that she's still working with them, but they've started doing a lot of AI content, but not edited at all, 100% AI content. And she's concerned that she is going to lose them and they're going to just start doing all AI content. And, you probably think the same as me. I think it's a terrible idea. You see a lot of these kind of affiliate and content sites. You see examples on Twitter sometimes where sites that are 100% AI content, they see this huge growth, and you see it going like that, and then boom, it just suddenly disappears, and suddenly everyone starts talking about it. Oh, this site that was doing amazing, it's kind of crashed and burned. And if you think about how long Google have been doing AI behind the scenes, they're probably on top of this because it's a kind of another form of spun content, like advanced spun content. So they probably are on top of this a bit. They're probably going to get more and more on top of this. So if you are pumping out AI content, it is probably the structure of it and what it's talking about is probably going to look similar to other things out there. And I don't think it's long before a lot of this starts burning. I think it is good to just get a bit of a head start. So, if you're using an editor like this girl, use that to get a bit of a head start so you're covering all the right topics, but then improve it, expand out on it, and just make it, much, much better using human editors. I don't know, have you come across any sites using like all AI content?
Not AI, not all AI content, but I did come across a company, I can't remember the name of them, but they were using an AI tool in the finance space to write content for them, and then they were using an editor on that content to kind of validate the stuff that the AI was writing, but also to proof it and make sure that it was up to scratch for the actual website. And I think the interesting thing that they did was every single piece of content that they used for that, they actually said this was written by an AI tool, but checked by, and then it had like a little picture of a person and had a person's name, and almost like feeding into that EAT EAT element, which is showing that there's an authority behind the content rather than just it being AI spun content in a sense. which I thought was a good way to do it. I'm not sure how that's kind of worked out for them. I will try and dig that out a bit later to try and
Is it
find.
CNET? Was it CNET or someone like that doing that?
I think
Because
so.
wasn't it showing up in the SERPs? This content was written by AI, which probably wasn't the best thing to display in the SERPs, because it probably puts users off.
Yeah, I imagine that would affect the click rate, wouldn't it? I think even just like AI content in general, like I don't know, you've had a play of ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
you kind of run questions to it, and it doesn't feel like a human's behind it. Like you can sort of tell, and I think that kind of, if you were just going to run AI content without getting the human touch to it would be fairly obvious to people that read quite a lot of blog content. And I think that's an important thing to kind of note on that. Um, it it's it lacks kind of the human touch that makes reading and writing like nice and interesting. And I feel like sometimes even with SEO content you can purchase, you just kind of look at it and it's like it's so templated that you may be filling a gap for queries, but are you actually going to engage new customers, or are you just going to rank a page that maybe isn't actually doing that much, other than sending some traffic to your website but not really getting the customers to stick? And yeah, I imagine AI will do that, but as you said, when Google catches on to it properly and starts punishing people for it, it's going to have a dramatic effect on people's rankings.
That's the other thing, isn't it? What will humans think of it? And Google are obviously going to take that into account where they can in terms of metrics, user metrics.
Yeah. Other than that, I think it's kind of like, I think I spoke to you the other day a little bit around the Chat GPT stuff, and I did see an article on like 10 ways to use Chat GPT, and most of it I didn't find that interesting, but there's one point around using it for books, and I think we discussed it a little bit before regarding like Naval's tip of scanning books rather than just spending hours and hours reading, getting all the fluff and the stories that validate the theory. And I kind of saw this Medium article, and it mentioned summarizing books in 500 words or less, which I thought was really good. So I did that a few times, which I found really good for looking at content, books that I'd read before, and just reminding myself about what the main points were. And then I kind of had a little bit more of a play with it, and I started saying, like, can you tell me how this book by this author can be used on this website? And it kind of outlines the key points and then says the way that this could relate to an e-commerce store is customer experience, delivery, and just really the reason why we're reading these kind of books is because we want to get actionable tips from it. And I haven't seen anyone else do this or talk about this. So I think it's quite a nice addition from AI. That is obviously a useful tool, but it's just how you use it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are using it right are using it for things like that, summarizing things, for idea generation, helping with ideas. I've used it for things like ad copy, but where it's ad copy, it's much smaller text. And I think you can ask it for a group of ideas. Give me 10 ideas for ad copy, and then give some detail about how you want that to sound and what you want in there. And then it can give you a lot of ideas that you can either take one or two of those, or tweak it. So I think it's good for things like idea generation. The summary thing you talk about is a great use of it. I've done that with articles as well, where I come across an article, it's huge. I think, I haven't got long, I haven't got time to read all that. I'll quickly copy and paste it into ChatGPT and so just say, give me a 10 bullet point summary of this article. That's been quite useful. I've just done that a couple of times. I can't remember the name of it now. I think there's a Chrome extension that does that, but it was a paid one. So I just used the free trial for a little while, but that was quite good. It pops out of the side of Chrome and summarizes articles for you. But you kind of have to, it's on by default all the time, so it got a little bit annoying. So I ended up turning that off. So I've just been using ChatGPT for that. But I've done things around keywords with it as well. So I think a few people have done this where they kind of asked ChatGPT to put keywords into a table with maybe 2 or 3 columns, and these are the headings. And then in column B, can you put the search intent? And it will add the search intent. And I used it a while back to do categorization as well. So I had like about 1,000 keywords. I wanted to put them into particular website categories. So I asked it to categorize them, but it kind of made up its own categories. But then I said, replace all of those categories with these, and listed the 5 or 6 categories. And it replaced them with all those categories. And you know what? It was pretty spot on. It was, I think if you use it right, it's a really useful tool. But if you're using it to do your entire job, like writing articles, it's not the right way to use it.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's just knowing how to use it, and I think it can really just support productivity, but you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, and just not rely on it totally. I haven't kind of gone into the depth that you have with keyword research, but I did chuck something in, like, can you give me some blog ideas for like contemporary home furniture, and it basically chucked out 10 pieces, and I was like, these are all crap, but there's one there that looks alright, and we can maybe not do that, but do a different version of it that would kind of be more interesting for humans.
Yeah, I think it just helps on the brainstorming side a lot of the time, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Helps you trigger ideas. I think the likes of this freelance writer I was talking to, the problem she's going to have is convincing clients that aren't so savvy that this is a bad idea, because all they're seeing is, we're paying a lot of money for this, but we can just get entire articles for pretty much free and just churn them out constantly on a daily basis. So I've been trying to send her resources that say this is a bad idea. Should probably send her this as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's going to be a challenge for writers and even some agencies and things like that for the near future. Anyway, I think.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there's so many different kind of like mindsets on AI. Like, I feel like we're both quite open-minded, and we see something new. We're just like, let's test it out. Let's see what we can do. And I've discussed, like, mentioned things to people at work, and everyone's like a bit hesitant, a bit nervous about it. I feel like people are a bit scared of the kind of AI revolution, and does it mean that they're going to be losing their jobs? And I'm kind of going, I used AI to come up with these ideas, or we could use AI to put our products on in a setting, and we wouldn't have to pay thousands of pounds to render us. We just hope there'll be a point when we can just, say, give me a modern room with walnut kitchen tops, and chuck in these products, and we wouldn't have to worry. We wouldn't have to pay renderers to do that. And I think if I was in that space, I'd be a little bit nervous, because I know there are things coming out in the image world with AI, and yeah, I think it is interesting how much it will impact marketing and e-com in general. And I think it's a bit more obvious with AI, and we've both kind of explored the Web3 world as well, and I think it's a bit more difficult to kind of like see where the benefits of Web3 come into play with e-com, other than maybe looking at transactions and checkouts and using crypto stable coins for that. But I mean, AI, I think, is going to have a huge impact in the space we work in.
Yeah, I think some of the Web3 stuff is probably still a bit of a way off, but the image stuff, I think a lot of people are working on that, so that's going to get a lot more advanced soon. Yeah. I think, it's not, I don't know if you can do it now, but it's not long before you can, give it your product images, even if they're not that great, and say, make a nice render of this, or create an image of someone holding our product, or make an image of our product in this background, or whatever it might be, and then it probably is going to change the e-commerce imagery. But some of the image stuff is still getting there. Some of the some of the tools out there for AI images, what they bring back is not great.
No.
So there's still a bit of work to be done on that front, but some of it's really good, especially the art type stuff. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think there's still a bit of work to be done there.
anything where it's like illustrations or graphics or stuff like that, it feels quite good. I agree. I did chuck in a few products into an AI tool and was like, oh, can you remove the background or put this background on it? And it basically just like didn't quite get the outline right, so the product got smaller and blurry, and then the background looked rubbish. And they were trying to, the angle they were going down was for car manufacturers, just creating different backgrounds for that. But the e-com retail side of things just didn't look great. So yeah, I think probably a little bit way off that. Yeah,
I think at some point, I think the e-commerce space is interesting for all this, and I think at some point, maybe on a different episode, we should talk about all the things you're doing in the e-commerce world, and the things you're trying, and maybe we can do a little series of that and kind of keep up to date on how things you're trying are going. Just out of interest, quickly though, have you? I can't remember if I've asked you before. Have you tried any augmented reality type stuff yet?
um, as a user, I've had a little play with things, mostly just Google stuff.
As in for the e-commerce store?
No, not as an e-commerce store. I think the company I'm working for at the moment is some way off that, and I feel like at the moment it's a nice to have, but not the priority. And it's hard to, yeah, it's hard to really gauge what the benefit of it will be at the moment. I think, um, I think,
It would be more a conversions thing, wouldn't it?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just don't know how much of it is a case that people just find it interesting because it's a bit of a shiny new tool and it's interesting to put a product in your room, but is it going to really, do you really put like a desk in your room, and other than like the sizing, do you go, okay, that fits, that's probably helpful, but getting that right. But sometimes it's with the products we're selling, you're looking at stuff that you want to see the details and the kind of grain of the wood. Um, and I think the personal, yeah, I'm not sure if the images are quite up to scratch for that in AR.
Yeah, AR probably works better in some other spaces like fashion and things like that, really, doesn't it? Because people
Yeah, I
want
mean,
to see things on and
yeah, I still don't know if I feel like, because with fashion, you don't, if you put say a top on through AI, is it going to actually sit how it would sit in real life? It's like if you see those examples where someone's bought something off Shein and it looks amazing on the model, but it's obviously like all clipped back, flows really nicely, and then they buy it and it's just like a really cheap, poorly made top. And I feel like you'd get the same thing. You'd get the same thing with AR. I don't know if it's helps that. I think with like
yeah,
retail, with furniture, AR would be really handy for spacing, um, but I think it depends on the kind of the market. So um, the top tier market, I think people really want to just see really good imagery of the details and the wood or the upholstery. I think you lose that on renders and potentially when it goes through the AR process. But I'm not an expert in that, so and I haven't actually explored it that much.
no, I do think you're right though, especially with the fashion stuff. Because I mean, let's be honest, things sit differently on everyone, don't they? So it's never going to look exactly how it would.
No.
But you know, it might be enough to give them an idea of, oh no, I don't think that suits me, or yeah, it might look all right.
Mm.
So maybe it will lower returns and help with conversions. Who knows? But
Yeah.
we should probably dig into that at some point.
Yeah, no, I think that would be interesting. I don't really see many companies doing it. I feel like a few years ago there was a little bit around that, but I don't feel like there's been an explosion in that space. Because I think when Google first started it and doing that kind of like you could put like the panda in your bedroom or tiger in your bedroom, and it was quite fun. And I think they worked with Burberry, and you could go through the SERPs, and you could there's like a little widget or logo, and you could click on that, and then you could then get I think it was a bag, like a Burberry bag, and you could like move it around like the space you're in. But other than it being quite fun to do first time, I don't know how helpful it is for the consumer. So I think they're probably just trying to figure that space out a bit more. Um, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Changing the subject, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about like team sizes, because obviously there's been a lot of tech cuts and things like that recently, but a couple of things that made me interested in this is, one, I can't remember the name of the company or where I heard it, but I heard somewhere someone saying there was a company with about 1,500 people in the US, I think. But this person talking about it, they said they reckon they've got anywhere between 5 and 30 times too many people. And what got me thinking about this more was I was talking to someone in an e-commerce business, an owner of an e-commerce business, and they had a bit of a tough time during the pandemic. And before COVID, so kind of 2019, they had 55 people working with them, and they were doing well, they're profitable, but they had that torrid time where it was a real struggle. But now they're doing really well again. Obviously things have picked up. They now have 16 people, so a lot less, and they're more profitable than ever. And some of the big differences they made is they stopped discounting, or certainly not discounting like all the time like they used to. So yeah, they've stopped discounting as much. They put the prices up. They put their prices up twice actually, and yeah, more profitable than ever. And when I spoke to him, I said, why did you have so many people before? And he said a lot of it was chasing these discounts. So they had people that were promoting these discounts and constantly pushing discounts, and then they would have to restock a lot more because they were getting stuff out so cheap and it was getting out a lot quicker. So they had more warehouse staff, they had more people sorting out the restocks, and now they've got 16 people and they're not doing as much of that. They're running really smoothly. Sales haven't really been affected, and yeah, they're doing better than ever. And then that coincides with we're seeing a lot of tech cuts and things like that. I think it'd be good to get your thoughts on this, but I think there's probably a huge amount of companies out there that just have far too many people.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we sort of briefly discussed this before we jumped on the call, that um, it, it it gets to the point where companies grow, and I think especially in the tech space, it's almost like a validation to your own career by managing more people. And I think it gets a little bit lost, and you hire more people who then want to hire more people, and everyone kind of goes into this like middle management like space where everyone wants to like run their own team and have um, you know it's a case that you probably just don't need as many people if you like take a real hard look at it. um, I think the tech space has been on such a run for so many years, and they're making so much money that they probably haven't had a real kind of look at actually profit per um, employee type thing, like you mentioned earlier. Um, and they're kind of probably taking a hard look at stuff, and they've almost like all done it at the very same time. So you wonder how much of it is a discussion in kind of Silicon Valley among like HR heads of these companies, and they just kind of like share ideas. I know that a recent thing I saw the other was, I think Instagram was going to start charging for verification of your account. Um, if it's a personal account, not a business. And I didn't read this properly. I just kind of saw a headline, but I think it was a case that they might be copying what Elon Musk has done at Twitter. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but obviously these guys are talking, and so when it comes to like cuts, people are going, all right, we're cut. Someone's done it, looked at it properly, and gone, right, we need to make these cuts, and then they kind of share that information to their buddies in the space, and then everyone kind of rolls out and does the same. And yeah, I think that's kind of the real area that's really highlighted at the moment, because it's so front and center. Everyone uses Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Amazon. But I think it doesn't just come from them guys. It comes from the fact that in the UK, especially, we're a recession is imminent. We were lucky not to go in one last quarter, probably because of the World Cup. But I have spoke to people who run HR departments for multiple different companies, and they're making cuts at the moment. And I think people have had to take a hard look at their bottom line, and the people that kind of are sitting in that middle management area that maybe is swollen too much. That's the places that will get cut first. And I think the other element is the discounting, and I think this is really interesting. And I am a big hater on discounts. I hate the pop-ups on e-commerce stores that offer 10% discount if you sign up for an email. I don't like the fact there's a race to the bottom when it comes to like Black Friday or sales, and I think that it is a case that companies, e-commerce stores, retailers are looking just to grow their market share, and they see one company doing it, so everyone has to do it. So if you stand your ground and be like, no, we're not going to discount, we might put our prices up, you might lose market share, but you're going to be, chances are that you'll be more profitable. And it's not just about acquisition. It's actually the reason why the companies exist is to, obviously employ people and give people wages, but also at the end of the day, you want to be a profitable business. And I feel like a race to the bottom in terms of discounting doesn't allow that. And a good example of that is the likes of Made, who, recently closed down, and they were heavy on. They basically got hit. Their margins are probably fairly small because we know for a fact that they're manufacturing, but they're not putting the markup that they probably need to do for the discounts they applied, and they got hit with the operations of logistically getting things shipped over to the UK from all over the world, kind of impacted them quite heavily. And then when there was a bit of a downturn in demand, it kind of showed that the kind of their way of acquiring customers very aggressively doesn't really work. And obviously now they've been acquired by Nxt, but they're not really. I feel like there's going to be a few more companies like that further down the road. And they're kind of like one of the first to kind of be hit in a kind of major way.
Yeah, that's why I think you mentioned profit per person. I think that's a really good metric. So Dan Priestley, who was episode 1 of the podcast, he talks a lot about. I don't think he really mentioned it much in the podcast, if at all, but he often talks about profit per person, it being the best metric in terms of the strength and value of a business, and if you've got a business that's really, really profitable, but they've only got a handful of people, so what are they doing different? Like that's the way to do it, rather than having 1,000 people for the sake of it. Something you mentioned there, Black Friday. I don't know if you ever saw this, but something I saw that was really interesting was Steph Smith, I think it was, who used to work with The Hustle. She has a content course, like content creation course of some sort, and she did, I think she called it an anti-Black Friday deal on Twitter. And what she was doing is she said, I am going to be putting the price up on my course, but it's going to go up to the full price on Black Friday, but it's going to go up gradually. So I think at like the beginning of the month, it was it was $1 or something. And then the next day it was $2, and then it was $5, and then it was $10, and it just kept going up day by day. So it kind of triggered you way before Black Friday to get in there quickly and grab it before it went up to the full price, whatever it was actually on Black Friday. So yeah, I know what you mean. It does feel like a race to the bottom on Black Friday, but I thought that was a clever little approach that was different.
Yeah, and I think also with that, like there's so much noise on Black Friday. People are bombarded with emails, ad costs go up because everyone's in that space. So if you're doing that a little bit beforehand, you're at a bit of an advantage where you're sending emails out to people that maybe haven't been bombarded at that point. And if you're going to run ads on Facebook or Instagram, the costs aren't going to be the same as what they are when you're actually running it through Black Friday. So it's not interesting psychological trick, but I think it's quite a nice angle, to be honest.
Yeah. If you can hear a bit of hammering, by the way, they're doing some work downstairs, so it's just got a bit noisier, but this is real life. So I did want to talk to you about some interesting like things I've seen around Twitter growth and Facebook growth and interaction, like following growth and gaining more interaction. But we've hit the half-hour mark, so I thought that might be a good place to leave it. Maybe we'll cover that next time, and might be able to gather a few more examples in the meantime as well.
Yeah, no, I think so. Especially if the hammer's going to start hammering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Be the best content at that point. But I feel that there's a lot of content that we can cover, and I think we say that one.
Awesome. Yeah, and also we've got some pretty cool interviews coming up as well. Some of which I'll be doing, but some we'll both be doing as well.
Yeah, I think we'll keep them top secret for now, and then
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice one. Thanks a lot, Toby. Catch you soon.
Thank you.